Hello YouTube, Cal Dallas Gamer here with another Soul Calibur 4. Now I had to mess around with my game capture card and of course the PS3 itself because I realized that I didn't max out the graphic output to the monitor, and that makes a huge difference about the quality of the image of this game. Man, Ivy looks so good and better than ever now that I managed to make it a little bit more HD-ness with full screen, because before it was very pixelated, like around 480 pixels. Now it's 1080 pixels. But sadly, since, it's a PS3 game, not the current era of gaming, it's definitely dated. Dated, but in a good way, because I can admit, for its time, it's a very well graphic game. And I had to go back to Soul Calibur 6, which I will feature it in just in a bit after a few gameplay runs here and there. I just want to say, guys, in this video that Soul Calibur has so much potential. I hope you guys seen my last video that I recently posted, and I hope you guys see the very long, almost an hour long video of the Tekken 8 video that I mentioned a lot, because that video made several good points, and I'm genuinely am terrified of Soul Calibur 7 coming out, because it could potentially be the end of Soul Calibur if the game developers do not put their, heart and artist way in that game. Again, I know I'm a gooner just by showing off Ivy, my sexy queen, but here's the thing, guys. This game was very well made. Aside from Soul Calibur 4, Soul Calibur 6 was very well made, and Ivy was still sexy in that game. She was slightly toned down in terms of her aesthetics, especially her, breasts being a little bit exposed, but definitely toned down in Soul Calibur 6, but still sexy, still that BDSM thing. And yet, she plays amazing. In matter of fact, far superior in Soul Calibur 4. In Soul Calibur 4, what made this game very popular was the timing, the PS3 being like very out there, especially with the Xbox 360, which, by the way, both gaming console were known for being graphically superior console in its time, and they were also graphically revolutionary. And Soul Calibur 4 showcased that. It showcased the power of graphics of both games, and I gotta admit, for its time, they did an amazing job. And if I'm correct, Soul Calibur 4 was third place in terms of most sales of Soul Calibur. Third place or second place, I could be wrong, but I know for a fact that it's the top 3 in terms of sales. Not of course quality or fans preference, but definitely top 3 of terms of sales. The second one is either 6 or this game, but number 1 was Soul Calibur 2. If you guys want to know why Soul Calibur 2 was awesome, it's because the way the game mechanic was, it was very, best way I could say it, fluid, and the movement felt natural. Here, Soul Calibur 4, I knew what the fans were talking about. I do get this sense of stiffness, and it does feel stiffness. Whenever I push the button on the PS3, I do feel it. I do feel the stiffness. But I will give credit to Soul Calibur 4, and this is why I keep coming back and playing a lot this game. There were some mechanics here that the updated Soul Calibur 6 did not feature, which is a little RPG element on the game, such as tower. And I could tell that Soul Calibur 4 had a little inspiration with Mortal Kombat, but not just Mortal Kombat, also Dark Souls, especially, very especially, the aesthetics. The aesthetics, in my opinion, is superior than Soul Calibur 6. Soul Calibur 6 felt like very light-hearted, something like, grand adventure type of stuff. But Soul Calibur 4 felt darker and more like doom and gloom, kind of like Dark Soul vibe, which Dark Soul did give that vibe. So I kind of want to see that in the next Soul Calibur 7, like, high stakes, high danger, but of course a little balance. Not too much, not too emo-ish. A little bit fun and sense of humor here and there, and of course a little hopeful. That balance, that's all I'm asking basically. But where Soul Calibur 6 did very good at in comparison to Soul Calibur 4, and you could say this is unfair in terms of you know Soul Calibur being the sequel, or the game developers doing their homework of what made Soul Calibur. It's the gameplay and the color. I don't know why, guys, but the color in Soul Calibur 4, it felt a little kind of like trying to copycat the aesthetics of Modern Warfare. Because keep in mind, Modern Warfare was very popular at this time when the PS3 was coming out. And I just can't help but notice, but a lot of games, they had this gray aesthetic feel to it, kind of like many other games in that era, just like Gears of War, Resistance. Well, let me think. Definitely War at War. And at that time, there was also Man of Steel. I'm trying to think. Batman, the trilogy series. Yeah, there was a lot of grayish, weird vibe in that era. But Soul Calibur 6 definitely had color, and the color were very slick. Here, I could definitely see some color of that, but I can't help but noticing the weird grayish aesthetic as if it's, Dark Soul. But I will confess though, and I know I sound very contradicting saying this, but I prefer the Dark Soul vibe, but I wish to see it balanced, not overly done, if that makes sense. I know that sounds very contradicting, but what I'm trying to say is not too much of, you know, of that Dark Soul vibe. A little balance here and there, like have some dark moments, dark atmosphere, especially stages. Have some dark stages and have some light-hearted stages. Ooh, I lost. So guys, I'm gonna transition to Soul Calibur 6 and let's just talk. Alright, YouTube, Soul Calibur 6, and as you can see in the screen, it's very, best way I could put it, clean. And you kind of could tell that the corporate influence of art is in there, because I know Soul Calibur 6 is kind of minimalist, but at the same time, they kind of maintain this cleanliness, and I kind of like that. I like the clean part, but not the corporate minimalist part. I kind of prefer the Soul Calibur 4 version of it. Oh, and speaking of Soul Calibur 4, I did a quick search about the sales, and it turns out Soul Calibur 4 is the second. This game came in third, and that is insane if you think about it. So, number one top spot in terms of most sales is Soul Calibur 2. The second one is number 4, and the third place in terms of most sales is this game, the most recent Soul Calibur game. So I kind of find that funny, but at the same time, not surprising, because Soul Calibur 4, there were some things that I prefer over this game, but this game, what I definitely do prefer, as we're gonna enter a game here, is definitely the gameplay, and I would dare say the color, because the color is very pretty, and honestly it feels very anime-ish. When I saw Taken 8, I can't help but notice they try to make it more realistic, and that kind of bothered me a bit, because I kind of prefer that they stylize and keep it a little bit anime-ish, which, by the way, anime is still very popular and still very praised, especially by a lot of people that watch. Instead of regular TV shows, they watch anime. And the reason why I'm bringing that subject up is because, for the next Calibur game, I kind of wish they headed in that direction. Other fans, well, this is gonna be controversial. Other fans, they prefer to keep it realistic or go towards the realistic route, but for me, I prefer to keep it stylized and put it a little bit on the stylized anime-ish part. But that's my opinion. Soul Calibur 4, it did have vibrant color. I'll admit it did have some of that, but I can't help but noticing that during that era, it had a little grayish. Best way I could put it, toned down, emo-ish feel to it, just like Dark Souls, Modern Warfare at that time, and of course Gears of War at that time. But it's definitely had color. But here in Soul Calibur 6, it is amped up like times 10, and that is not surprising. But at the same time, I obviously prefer it. And as you can see in the background, another thing that I kind of prefer is definitely the gameplay. In my opinion, the gameplay is far superior than Soul Calibur 4. Now, some people would say that's not fair, but because Soul Calibur 6 is the most recent game. But I will say this, since I've seen Soul Calibur 2 gameplay, Soul Calibur 2, reason why that game sold way more than its predecessor all the way up to 6 is because of the gameplay itself. The gameplay in Soul Calibur 2 was super fluid, super balanced, best way I can put it. And here in Soul Calibur 6, it reminds people of that, especially long-term Soul Calibur fans. It reminds the Soul Calibur fans about Soul Calibur 2. So Soul Calibur 6, it definitely went on the right direction in terms of gameplay. It is very fluid, and as you can see here, I'm fighting very fluidly as Ivy, as my Queen Ivy, and that's another thing. I very glad that they did not tone Ivy down in comparison to Soul Calibur 5. If you've seen Ivy in Soul Calibur 5, you kind of could tell they tried to nerf very hard on Ivy sexiness. But here in Soul Calibur 6, her design is based on Soul Calibur 1 because this game is considered a soft reboot. And sadly, because it's based on Soul Calibur 1, it's not that sexy compared to Soul Calibur 4 Ivy, but you kind of could tell the redesign of it. It has a little inspiration from Soul Calibur 4, which is not surprising because if you think about it, and I've been saying this throughout my past Soul Calibur video, if you Google Ivy, the very first image that you're gonna see of Ivy is her Soul Calibur 4 design, not the 6, the 4. And why? It's because her Soul Calibur 4 design is way popular than her 6 design. Way popular. And I hope in the next Soul Calibur game they bring that back. But yeah, here Ivy is amazing. The gameplay is amazing, and I love the special move that you could do. Which, by the way, it plays a very awesome cinematic when you defeat your enemies with the finisher. And me, I love spamming that. So yeah, I'm I'm gonna end this video, guys, because I'm running out of thoughts of what to say. But I will say this: I really wish Soul Calibur 7 is successful. I really wish the game developers hit all the margins of what makes Soul Calibur Soul Calibur. But more importantly, make a very well made game. And without a doubt, it really needs a very strong online support. It needs crossplay, it needs its players to play against other players from different consoles. It needs a good server, has good you know, internet connection, all that jazz, because in the modern era we kind of expect it, and more importantly, we hope we could have a very good single player game and a little bit RPG element to it. And we do not want to create our own character creation. Instead, hopefully we could like do a little RPG with the existing characters such as Ivy, which I noticed that in Soul Calibur 4. In Soul Calibur 4 it lets you do that, and it had a better RPG system compared to Soul Calibur 6, but that's just my opinion. Just my opinion. But still though, I really wish that they make a very good single player game and good online support multiplayer game. Well, guys, I'm gonna end it here. Please like and subscribe, and more importantly, leave a comment down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your ideas of what Soul Calibur 7 could do, in order to be very successful, because that's the goal. Hopefully, the next Soul Calibur game is very successful and it keeps this game alive. Because if it doesn't, then we might see Soul Calibur gone forever, and it kind of sucks. Thank you guys for listening and watching. Cal Dallas Gamer, over and out.